Are we hyped about this cinematic?
Oh, yes.
Are we hyped about the game because of this cinematic? But okay, we enjoyed the cinematic, all right?
Yeah, for sure.
We enjoyed it, but
So there were some interesting takes on the cinematic. First of all, looking at it, I have to say my personal piece, I really liked it as somebody who got demoralized with the story that WoW has taken in the last couple of years, last couple of expansions. Dragonflight cinematic was okay, but Shadowlands was meh. But this reminded me of setting up stakes and showing that, you know, the story is bigger than what we think it is, and there's more to it, and you can see the end of the story, which is Xal'atath, but she's painted in a way where she definitely feels out of reach, where it's gonna take a while to get there. This is a villain that obviously is not gonna be the first, you know, tier villain is Ansarek right there, tiny in the middle, but the actual villain of the expansion, we already know, like you said, in the past, we don't know what the villain of the expansion is anymore.
Well, I mean, this is what they do. So you would think it's Xal'atath.
Well, I mean, that's what we have to think. That's what they're selling.
That's the build-up. But how can you? This is like almost so. Up until this point, if they carry on building her up like this, it will almost feel like we're fighting something as powerful as
we're fighting Xal'atath, but not directly.
But no, not now. I'm talking about the end of the expansion. So at the end of the expansion, do you think Xal'atath, if we fight her at the end of the expansion, let's put this theory on, right? We fight her at the end of the expansion.
Okay.
Do we kill her? What happens to Midnight? Does Dimensions
Okay, so that's the thing, because that question is very loaded, and it builds the premise that she died, or we fight her at the end of the expansion. I don't think so. I think Midnight is revolved around her, and most likely the only other character that we know is which is Dimensions, or whatever higher void being that she serves.
Oh my god, how many higher beings do we have?
Although
I think Dimensions is the final boss. The CEO. That's where the train stops.
I don't know. Well, that's what I don't know if she answers.
Come on, man.
I don't know if she answers to like the CFO or whatever. That's like one level beneath. But what I mean is that Midnight has to be centered around, like, she's definitely the coolest Void character that we have. They're not gonna off the coolest Void character that we have before the Void expansion.
I really like N'Zoth's whispers, man. Speaking about cool characters from the Void.
Well, Midnight is gonna be like a full Void expansion. We're not just gonna have Xal'atath there. And I don't know if she's going to be the last. Well, that's the thing, because it depends on how they want.
You remember Yoxaron, or you did in Wrath and in Cataclysm?
In Wrath, we killed Yoxaron in Wrath.
Yeah, but the whole shtick. I mean, dude, Void has a lot of cool characters. I don't know if she's.
No, but that's what we have now. What we have now to engage with.
It's the.
We don't have all. Well, theoretically, we don't have all.
We dealt with the Void in BFA, sort of. That was the last remaining stand of the Void N'Zoth, okay. And now
she's going behind N'Zoth's back to answer to the big boss, like, hey, dude, listen, he didn't let me do the project, but you know.
But yeah, what was that bargain they had? Do you imagine?
Between who?
Between Xal'atath and N'Zoth. Because they had a deal.
If I recall, N'Zoth freed her so that she gives him the dagger. Or frees up the dagger, because the dagger is a conduit to manifest N'Zoth into our world, probably. I think that's what it was. But either way, what I meant to say is that this is a story set in 3 expansions. So even though we see Xal'atath as the big baddie, usually these types of stories are contained within their respective expansions, right? But now we know that's not the case. This is a 3 expansion story. So I don't think we're gonna fight Xal'atath at the end of the War Within, and I don't know if Dimensions is at the end of Midnight, because we still have the Last Titan. Well, are we going to fight Titans in the last expansion? Is it just Titans, or is it going to be a duality fight between the Void and the Order of the Galaxy, where we fight either Titans or the Void?
I think Midnight is going to be Light versus Void, and I think the Last Titan will be like, you know, Order, Void, and Light, everything. Like
that would be, because they could do it in any number of ways, and since we don't know, we cannot really say when we're going to fight Xal'atath.
I believe Metzen did say that this is Last Titan and the whole World Soul Saga, this is like the last big chapter of what we have.
Yeah, it has to close. It has to close off the Titans, the Void, Iridikron. Like we still don't have.
He said basically that everything that we've did in this game, lore-wise, has been building up to this moment, to this conclusion.
Yeah, it has to end with the Void and the Light and the Order.
This because these are primarily, well, there's also the Fel, because we have the Legion, but
we did that one.
Yeah,
Sargeras is whatever, right? The demons are not dead. The Burning Legion is not fully destroyed, because, you know, we cannot really kill. We didn't kill all of the demons, because you have to kill them on, you know, in the Twisting Nether, or We could kill them with
but you don't, so when you kill a demon, it doesn't really die in our world. It just goes to the...
Yeah, but if you killed it in the Twisting Nether, I think it dies there. And if I recall, there was one way that if we killed them, they stay dead forever. They've retconned so much that I just stopped caring about the continuation of the story. So either way. So because this is a 3 expansion type story, our normal ways of predicting how it will end will change. So I'm not gonna sell it off 100% and say exactly, you know, xal'atath is gonna be the end. But this is how you build a proper villain. Like they could have done this with the legacy with Razgat, right? Because obviously what this does is builds up Ansurek as a, you know, unlikable character that we really want to defeat. And once you play the expansion, and you will see once you get into well, I don't know about the story of the quest because I've skipped those, but I've played City of Threads, the dungeon, and we've went into Arakara, but mostly City of Threads. There's a lot of lore in the actual dungeon that tells about Ansurek and the rebellion, the spiders that are against it. Because obviously there's going to be 2 factions, because we know the queen was good, her daughter is not. So obviously there's two versions of Nerubians.
But the question remains: are we hyped for the War Within? Are the people playing right now the pre-patch? Are they hyped for the War Within?
I don't know if they are.
It's truly, I believe this was a cool cinematic, and it kind of like really hit something that was missing, at least from Dragonflight moving forward in World of Warcraft. I don't think it's enough though. There's a lot of things technically that really put some breaks into our whole like speed towards the hype moment. And I really like going to the pulse of everything that's happening, you know, with, again, comments, forum posts, Reddits, and all of that. It doesn't feel that people are excited just yet. Now, once again, this is a very small majority. I have to say, we cannot speak for like the big WoW crowd out there. Sure, the cinematic has done things to like hype up everything. I am expecting though something to happen at Gamescom this year to actually like pump it up into those places. Now, technically, we cannot be that hyped because we know how much shit they still have to fix with the dungeons. I don't even know what's happening in the raid because that testing has been stopped. With the class tuning, you played Delves. You can like share a little bit how that went. Sure, the open world and you know the quest lines and everything that is happening over there, that's pretty on par. That always is. But it tends to get consumed really fast, generally. So when that gets consumed really fast, you get into the season of WoW, and if the first season of The War Within is not balanced properly, doesn't have, you know, the proper tuning for the classes, it didn't face the damage profiles of some of these dungeons, the raid is not properly tuned as well, bugs for multiple places, this will hinder any drop of hype that could be. Because again, guys, I remember Legion playing in, I think, the last cycle of beta, and dude, everything was, apart from some abilities that are the artifact weapons that were not ever introduced back, that felt pretty good. I'm not going to compare BFA beta because that was a shit show, but once again, when you played those expansions in quote-unquote testing phases, it felt a little bit better, and you had the confidence that on launch things are going to go pretty smoothly. Judging by the experience with the pre-patch, I hope they get their shit together, and hopefully we're gonna get the confidence that this expansion will basically add what Dragonflight was missing. Because if you think about it, it's not shaking up what Dragonflight was. It's actually adding on top of it, systems-wise, technicalities. Yeah, they're adding this atmosphere, context, and story in a better way, hopefully.
I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from this cinematic when it comes to should you be hyped for WoW. I mean, obviously, it might not do it for everybody the way that, you know, it does it for us. It's not the biggest thing, because I think one of the biggest things that we can take away from the cinematic is how World of Warcraft is portrayed, since we know from past cinematics that WoW has changed over the years. It's not the game that most of us know, and I think we felt this the most in Dragonflight, whenever it stopped feeling like WoW anymore. It felt, you know, we never had those epic moments anymore. We never felt like, oh my god, we're fighting for like this cool thing. And it's starting to build up and shape up the way it is right now. And I think this cinematic definitely brings that back up. What would we have to compare it with? The legacy videos, all of that stuff. So that's what Dragonflight felt like it was missing, and this is adding like
everything in Dragonflight. Apart from a couple of moments, everything in Dragonflight was very soft and not exciting at all. So this is very early on to talk about, right? Because we're judging Dragonflight now after the fact. we've been through all the campaigns, we've been through all of the factions, we've seen the little short stories, we've seen the long stories. It's after the fact. We don't really know what's in store for us in the world within, apart from what's building up here. Again,
well, that's the thing, because we can probably compare it to how 10.0 was whenever we knew that we were going to fight the primalists, which were like, who?
I didn't care for that.
Yeah, exactly. And
what I did
get as well, who?
Yeah, who? And then the little, like, you know, T-Rex hands, like, what the fuck was that? Now, what was cool about the 10.0 Dragonflight was the exploring the world part.
Yeah, feeling, well, when we're coming from Shadowlands, it feels like we were claustrophobic.
Oh my god, I felt I'm rediscovering World of Warcraft again with all of the planes and stuff. It was beautiful, right? And I don't think the war within will necessarily, well, it has some beautiful places. I'm not saying it doesn't have, but if we already relived the experience of exploring and getting to see different biomes and stuff in Dragonflight, when you're going to do it again in the war within, it's not going to feel as fresh because you're not coming off of a Shadowlands, all right? So this is why I think the war within has to really put a lot of emphasis and value on context, characters, stories, immersion, all of that.
It's like you said, it's early, but
call.
I do feel like this is the step in a good direction, because this is not, you know, if we need like a total of 10 cool things to happen, this is just one. We cannot judge it by one. We need like a couple of others to be added in. And I know that, I don't know, a lot of people don't vibe with how they're depicting these new characters. Everybody's like all slender, all pretty, all super shiny.
Yeah.
This is a different style of fantasy, but if you really think about it, it kind of matches the Void somehow. It matches the Ethereals, it matches the Void Elves.
Yeah.
So we can have
Makes
this.
more sense.
But I feel like what was missing in Dragonflight was that feeling of Warcraft, the feeling of Warcraft that we've seen in Warlords of Draenor with big orcs, in Legion with like fiery demons, in MoP with Alliance versus Horde, things like that, or even Alliance being portrayed as honorless and pristine and
but you had like big oppressive dude like the Mogu over there, and you had, you know, threatening factions like, you know, the insect people from there as well, plus the shot thing. So there were a lot of, because I remember in MoP when they first launched, it was kind of the same narrative as we had in Dragonflight, in the sense that this is the soft expansion, this is not Warcraft, this is kiddie stuff. But once we got, you know, once the patches came through, you realize this was like, oh my god,
actually thought out, written properly.
Yeah, but it was not the case with Dragonflight, is what I'm saying. The big difference between MoP and Dragonflight, although perceptually they kind of started the same way, it's like soft lala, but MoP got into like big, you know, epic moments.
If you really want to go there, MoP probably had a worse start in that respect, because what we could probably take from the Dragonflight cinematic is that we have dragons. The dragons are Warcraft.
Yeah, true.
Pandas are not, you know, are not seen as were not seen as a Warcraft thing back then. And you can look at these Nerubians, and the only really thing that I could say is that Nerubians for me were big, angry bugs. Were big spiders, was an Uber-Rock.
Get the spray!
Were the, you know, the Nerubians that you used in Warcraft 3 from Undead and just like shoot web stuff. This is like a bunch of humanoids with pointy ears and slender feet. But you know, that's the thing, is the cinematic doesn't do them justice, because you still have the big menacing Nerubians. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of them in the game. There's a lot of them in the dungeons.
They're
just not here for some reason in the cinematic, and maybe that's a shame, because they could have probably painted them there as well to kind of feel like the backbone of the Nerubian army. So that's still a thing, and I want to bet that the next two cinematic things probably is one going to be about the Earthen, and the other one's probably going to be about the Arathi, because, you know, those are the other factions that we're going to meet in the Isles of Dorne, so that's going to be very important to build up. And, you know, I mean, it doesn't get a lot more Warcrafty than human paladins, using light to burn darkness and burn the enemy. So that's different than, you know, Tuskar's cooking in the icicles.
Listen, like, have the light burn the bugs is an interesting metaphor. I don't think they're going to focus on any of the factions. Legacy is not sure. But what's probably going to happen, because you have to think about this from a marketing business side as well. They want to hype up people for the game to get as many as they possibly can, right? This is like very important for them, because, you know, it's a financial quarter and they have to get the dough in. That's the truth about it. So I put all of my money on a brand new cinematic that
the Gamescom?
Yeah. A brand new cinematic, just to like have everybody pump the fuck out of their mind. And you gave me an idea. They could potentially in that cinematic show all of these races, you know, within their little, but, you know, much more involved and stuff. And then when people will see the League of Arathor or whatever in a fully rendered cinematic, people are gonna flip the fuck out. I can guarantee you.
Remember the rendered cinematic that we had, what, 2 weeks ago? It wasn't really saying anything. It was the dwarf doing the blacksmith thing. That was a cool shot, but you don't really have context for it. We had the Rubians, which were cool shots, but you didn't have context. Now we have context with this cinematic. So that's what I want to say, is that the Earthen are really cool. People, and I was in your camp. Listen, you make fun of the dwarves because they're bejeweled, right? Because they have little bedazzled. They have little diamonds in their bodies. But Earthens are actually pretty cool and way more badass than I thought. And the humans, the Arathi, are so fucking amazing. Like
what you want to be?
The Lothar chick.
I like her.
She's really cool. She's definitely going to be Anduin's anchor in the story, and the reason that's important is that's most likely going to be showed in a cinematic way. It was shown in the last cinematic, but you don't know that. That's the problem with how the cinematic launched, is because you don't know why is she there. Why does she have only one arm? Who are all of these dudes, soldiers in the back? Why is she in the front? Like, you don't know any of that, and that was the problem with that, because she didn't sell the character. You need a narrated type cinematic like this to have that explained, and I feel like that we're gonna get that.